All right. There's no country in the world like Argentina. It's got this flair that's distinctly Latin American, but it's got this sophistication to it, and it's just screaming of European heritage. But it's also got this legal system that's kind of American in its own right. It's got a similar setup. There's really no place that is like Argentina. Today we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about the background a little bit, and then we're going to go into political, legal, and economic environments. We're going to follow that up with regional economic integration, and then we're going to talk about how Argentina looks as a trading partner prospect. We're going to cover environmental analysis, and then we're going to go to some additional value and conclude about what we think for Argentina as FDI. Argentina was originally a Spanish colony, but then it started to receive this big influx of not only just Spanish, but Italian immigrants, and then during World War II, it started getting all of these German immigrants. So Argentina itself is not full of Argentinians. It's full of people from all over in different parts of the world. It kind of gives this interesting vibe to the city. You'll walk around and you'll see that the buildings are, Italian and they're French and they're not South American. In fact, 97% of Argentinians claim to be European descendants. When you're conducting business in Argentina, you're going to be doing business with the porteños, and those are the very affluent, very intelligent, very artistic people that live in the cities. Most people in Argentina live in the cities, and very few actually live in the outskirts. The porteños are warm, like the Latins. They're very caring, but they're also very knowledgeable and intellectual like a European. They've also got this strange identity crisis because they don't know whether they're supposed to be South American or whether they're supposed to be European. So they're fragile. And you'll have to be very careful with working with the Argentinians because they might take things that you say too much to heart.
After talking about the background, now we move to the legal and the political environment of Argentina. Argentina presently has a female president called Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. It has a bicameral Congress consisting of 257-member Chamber of Deputies and 72 member states. Argentina has 23 states and an autonomous federal district. Political risk is increasing in Argentina due to division in Congress and change in government that will take place in 2011. Trade liberalization and strong economy has helped licensing and franchising agreements in Argentina in the 90s. Local and foreign firms have benefited greatly from this. Also, Argentina has strong intellectual property law. In Argentina, infringement of industrial property rights are a criminal offense. Nevertheless, piracy remains a problem, especially for computer softwares. The government decreed in May 2005 that all foreign direct investments entering Argentina must remain in the country for at least 365 days. For income tax purposes, Argentina requires companies to prove that they are transferring dividends and not other payments out of the country. Over the last few years, FDI has increased by 28%, and Argentina ranked 5th in terms of the highest growth in FDI inflows in 2008. Foreign companies may invest in Argentina in equal footing with domestic firms without prior government approval.
Now that we've discussed the political and legal environment of Argentina, let's move on to the economy. Argentina has a comparative advantage due to its geographic location near waterways, natural resources, fertile land, and highly educated individuals. Most of Argentina's exports are agricultural products. Some of Argentina's major exports include soybeans, oil, and vehicles. Its main export partners are depicted in the graph. Argentina also has major import industries such as machinery and natural gas. Major import partners are shown here. Despite its many industries, Argentina has experienced much economic turmoil during the 20th century that was characterized by external debt, inflation, capital flight, and deficits. The worst downturn was in 2001 when the peso was no longer equivalent with the US dollar and 60% of the population was below the poverty line. For further background, here's a table graphing Argentine exchange rates with the United States from 2003 to 2007. As you can see, it is taking more pesos every year to equal 1 US dollar. Let's explore some of Argentina's recent economic indicators. In 2009, Argentina had a GDP of $306 billion, a 10% increase in investment, 8.4% unemployment, and a $16.7 billion trade surplus. There are also currently 500 U.S. companies operating in Argentina. It appears that the Argentine economy is doing better, but according to the Q4 Argentina Commercial Banking Report, this may not be the case. Economic indicators may be unreliable due to the fact that forecasts have been consistently worse than consensus estimates. For example, there has been higher inflation and lower growth rates than reported. Also, GDP may not continue to rise. As you can see by the graph, real GDP growth since 2005 to 2011 predicted GDP growth will fall overall. The predictions from 2011 to 2014 show only a very slight increase in real GDP. The government has also been stimulating the economy with tax breaks and subsidies. This is increasing economic growth and consumption temporarily. The 2011 elections will most likely result in the removal of this government assistance, causing economic issues to surface once again. This has been an overview of Argentina's economy.
Now that we've taken a look at the different political, legal, and economic environments in Argentina, let's take a look at how they've tried to implement economic integration into their country. There are two major economic integration blocks that Argentina participates in, along with a few other inter-block economic agreements. The first block we will cover is Mercosur. Their goals are to create a common market by coordinating their fiscal and exchange rate policy. They would ultimately like to reach full South American integration just like the European Union. They have both full members and associate members, and Argentina is one of their full members. Mercosur is the largest trading bloc in South America and are the fourth largest trading bloc in the world. Initially, they experienced a surge in their share of international trade and even doubled and tripled their share of exports to the Mercosur market, and many of those products were manufacturing goods. Mercosur is facing some issues though. According to some experts, it has become paralyzed in recent years due to fractioning of members over the organization's future. In spite of these issues, they have been able to forge ahead with few extra-regional economic agreements. One of these agreements is with the European Union called EU-Mercosur Association Agreement, and they also have a preferential trade agreement with India. There are some agreements that may come about in the future too. They are trying to create a free trade area of the Americas that would integrate Mercosur with NAFTA and the Dominican Republic Central American Free Trade Agreement. If this does go through, it would bring free trade to the entire Western Hemisphere. Mercosur might also merge with Comunidad Andina de Naciones, another South American integration bloc, and if these two blocs do integrate, then it will encompass all of South America. The second major bloc we will cover is the Union of South American Nations, or UNASUR. They have 12 members that encompass the whole South American continent, and they signed a treaty with the goal to work like the European Union. They would like to integrate their economic, social, cultural, and political fields, and also establish a central bank and a single South American currency.
Argentina has strengthened its position in the global economy through its international economic integration efforts and has become a more attractive prospect for foreign investment and trade. Argentina has an open foreign investment system, and its constitution grants foreigners the right to exercise their profession, trade, or industry, and the right to own, buy, and sell real estate. Foreign participation is restricted in the industries of fishing, domestic transport, arms and ammunition, certain communications media, and the purchase of real estate in security zones. Foreign companies can invest without prior approval under the same conditions as investors homed in Argentina and transfer their investments and profits abroad at any time. Incentives are also given for foreign direct investment that promotes research and development and regional development. Also, financing with preferential interest rates are given for the development of micro and small and medium-sized enterprises. Argentina has been a net recipient of FDI inflows from major investors in Spain, the US, Netherlands, France, Chile, Germany, the UK, and Italy. Factors believed to have contributed to Argentina's FDI inflow increase include its Mercosur membership, its macroeconomic stability, its investment incentives and privatization programs, a floating exchange rate, and its re-entry into the international capital markets by converting foreign debt into capital. Argentina's trade policy is structured around its commitments and obligations to the WTO, Mercosur, and the Doha Round. Argentina's main trade objectives include greater liberalization of trade in agricultural and livestock products to foster welfare and increase social equality, commitment to an open and fair world economy, achieving economic integration through cooperation and negotiations with the private sector, to diversify its export markets, promote FDI and tourism, and to facilitate SMEs transitioning into the international markets. Due to the financial crisis that hit South America in 2001 through 2002, that led to the devaluation of the peso, Argentina made changes to its trade policy. As a result, greater global liberalization of its agricultural sector has led to a positive growth in its overall trade liberalization.
Now that we have talked about Argentina as a prospective trading partner, let's look at Argentina through an environmental analysis. There are current events and trends that are occurring in Argentina that affect them in the global business market today. Two trends that are occurring are improving tax revenue and corruption. Let's talk about improving tax revenue. By looking at treaty negotiations of taxes in Argentina, there is a trend of these treaties trying to improve tax revenue of the source country Argentina. The new treaties are with countries such as Spain, Canada, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Now let's discuss corruption in Argentina, which is a continuing trend. According to the Global Corruption Barometer, 52% of respondents consider the government's fight against corruption to be ineffective. According to Transparency International's Corruption Index of 2010, Argentina ranks 105 out of 180, with 180 being the most corrupt. Now that we've talked about some current trends, let's talk about current events. On January 5, 2010, Argentina was reported as having the third highest inflation in the world. Inflation in 2009 ranged from 15 to 18%. The inflation rate is expected to remain 16 to 18% for 2010. On June 24, 2010, Argentina received a debt swap. Creditors agreed to exchange 2/3 of its outstanding bad debts for new bonds. On November 3, 2010, JP Morgan's index closed the month with a score of 692. The indicator tries to measure the degree of danger of default involving a country from the viewpoint of foreign investors. It is expected that country risk in Argentina will continue to decrease.
So we've covered a lot of information on Argentina, and what we've found is that when it comes to investing there, it really depends on which industry you're in.
If you're going into agriculture or manufacturing, maybe even processing, Argentina is definitely a great place for you to be. But if you're going in for software or something like that, you might consider looking somewhere else.
So now that you have our recommendations, we hope you're well informed in order to make a decision yourself.